All right, good morning. It's time for Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. This is the part where we talk about trending stories from the front pages of our dailies. And we have our papers with us. We have The Guardian, The Punch, Vanguard, and of course, The Nation newspaper. A whole lot of stories, trended from the last time we spoke, which was yesterday morning, till this very moment. And that's what we're going to be looking through from the papers this morning. It's been an amazing ride. There's been a whole lot that's been happening. We gave the breaking news yesterday of the fact that the Ekiti Assembly crisis has taken a new turn as members of the assembly actually voted, or some members of the assembly actually voted to impeach the newly elected leader just about 7 days or so into his election. And now they have Ekiti Assembly has a new Speaker of the House. Interesting things are happening. No, even more interesting days ahead. And still on this issue of political violence and insecurity or whatnot, if truly we have, or if truly, yes, let me say if truly we have these things on lockdown as regards security, as regards people going for campaigns and whatnot, there have been stories coming in as regards what happened to the PDP, to some PDP supporters in Gombe State. We'll keep following the story, but one would think that once beaten, twice shy, and things will be done properly, or things will be put in better perspective as the campaigns roll by. But we'll keep hoping that things will get better as we move on. But then we're in the election season, we're in the campaign season. The most important thing is you as a supporter just ensure that you stay safe. You can support, or you can do something for whomever it is that you're running with, or whoever it is that you're supporting, but then just all try to do it with both eyes open. Very, very important. All right, my name still remains Omobola Sandra, and we're going to be running this show together. However, Fuad Sahid will be joining me via the phone line as we look through the trending stories on the front pages of our dailies this morning. Good morning, Fuad.
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. How are you?
I'm well, thank you very much. Thanks for joining in.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's get straight to it. I'll start with the Punch newspaper, and the major headline from the Punch newspaper this morning is National Carrier, Federal Government, Domestic Airlines legal battle kicks off Thursday. So we have riders to this, 10 lawyers to lead local airlines legal team, SANs, professors drafted. Aviation Ministry Director leads government lawyers, plans to vacate injunction. So let's not forget this, but the background to this story is that sometime last week or some 2 weeks or so ago, some local airlines came together and sent some suit to the court, praying that the court suspends the takeoff of the national carrier due to the fact that they had a lot of reasons. Of course, the fact that one is the merger or the alliance, or alliance or the working relationship with Ethiopian Airlines seems to be taking a new turn, or an interesting turn, due to the fact that all of the senior management people are Ethiopians. That's one. And the fact that the pilots that they also employed are Ethiopian pilots, and also the fact that this is going to give Ethiopian Airlines more airspace in the Nigerian airspace. Yes, those are one or two of the reasons that the local airlines took the Ethiopian the alliance, or the aviation ministry and all of that, to court. So what we have now is there of course is going to start off, or is going to kick off. This legal tussle is going to kick off on Thursday, and I don't know what is exactly to make of this particular story, if at all it's anything is going to come off it that would be of benefit to Nigeria or Nigerians. Fuad.
Well, you see, well, it's a case in court, so we'll not have to talk too much about it. So that we don't go prejudicial. But, I've always asked this simple question: what exactly is the purpose of a national carrier? I think we need to define that. What does a national carrier do to a nation? What does it give back to a nation? Is it about the revenue that you get from it? Is it about national identity, the pride of a nation? and all of that. So if all of that is defeated in this exercise, if we are not completely sure of the revenue that we're going to get from this arrangement, if our national identity is not something that will be protected from this arrangement, if our pride is not going to be anything that would be a major source of pride in all of these arrangements, then we need to ask ourselves, why is the government so desperate? I think recently you and I were discussing about the fact that, look, Akwa Ibom State has, their own aircraft, the Ibom Air. And what exactly did it take for them to
put
set
it
up
together?
that Ibom Air, to put it together? It take them this back and forth that we're having from the federal government, And I understand completely with the local airlines about the fact that we need to protect our own local airspace, so that our local airlines can also not, so that they don't get stifled out of business. And I have always said it. Immediately there's a vested interest in any arrangement. We need to begin to question the veracity of that arrangement and the need for us to go on with it. If you remember some of the reports we've gotten is that, look, there seems to be some elements of vested interest, sorry, from the Minister of Aviation himself about the company handling the entire process. And so we only wait to see what the court would come up with. But I like the fact that it's being challenged. But in all of that, we need to ask ourselves, what exactly would this bring to the table for Nigeria? It's a question you've asked. Why is the government so desperate about getting this thing done? And then suddenly you just have Ethiopian Airlines taking charge of the entire thing. It's almost like an Ethiopian airline, and it's just like a subsidiary of Ethiopian Airlines. So what does it give back to us is the question, and why are we this desperate? The initial arrangement was that part of the presidential fleet will be used to start this Nigeria Air. Why the change of mind? Why is it that the presidency changed their minds to give part of the presidential fleet to this arrangement? And then even immediately there was a false start. We knew that this was going to be a problem. Remember that even launching the logo thousands of dollars. And, so we'll wait to see what the courts would decide on this issue. But for me, I have my worries about the desperation of the Minister of Aviation and the federal government in pushing through this particular arrangement, because again, it's not looking tidy, Sandra. The entire thing is not looking tidy.
Well, there are a lot of prayers that the indigenous, airlines want the courts to consider. There are a lot of it, but you can get all of the details on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Just as we've mentioned, the case is in court with the takeoff starting on Thursday. And as the battle begins on Thursday, of course, the federal government has a whole month or an entire month to, respond, to come up with a defense to that. And if they don't do that within a month, of course, that would be lost. But then we'll see as the process goes. But there's just one thing that we need to put out there is the fact that there's so much controversy emerged in this domestic airlines launch. It's the national carrier, the national carrier launch, and it's just since 2018, I think. Yes, that's when the logo was launched. Yes, so there's been a whole lot of back and forth, and here we are now, and this is the point where we are. Let's also not forget that the aviation minister stated that no law in the country would stop the federal government from setting up an airline for Nigeria. More details.
I think that's just it.
Okay, well, whether or not it's a joke.
Laws and rules and regulations, so.
Well,
so I think that's just a joke. I think there's a point you just get to. You sit back in your office and just want to throw a joke out there. I think that's a joke from Minister of Aviation. Let's count as a joke.
All right, moving on now from that more details of that on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Moving on now, we also have here Ogun PDP. Supreme Court orders retrial. Party crisis worsens. It is interesting, Fuad. We had this conversation yesterday, on ballot 23, trying to see what exactly is happening in Ogun State politics. And apparently, it's not just the PDP who is emerging some sort of crisis. Even the incumbent governor also has his own fair share of some sort of interesting intrigues in his own party, the APC. Okay, and what we have from this particular report is that the crisis rocking Ogun State chapter of PDP has taken interesting turns on Monday, with the Supreme Court dismissing an appeal filed before it on the nomination of the party's governorship candidate. So they ordered that the suit instituted by a governorship aspirant, that's Jimmy Lawal, be remitted to the Federal High Court for fresh trial. Let's not forget that Jimmy Lawal, contested in the governorship. Not even that, he contested governorship primary election and challenged the emergence of Adebutu as winner, alleging that an unlawful delegate list was used by the party to conduct that particular, primaries. Okay, so Lawal prayed that that purported primary be cancelled and another be conducted with an authentic ad hoc delegates list. So what we have as of now is that Justice Ibrahim Salawa, in a judgment in the appeal of the PDP, held that the Federal High Court was wrong in declining jurisdiction in the matter. So the Supreme Court has sent it back to the Federal High Court. That's where we are as at this time now. I don't know, but
well, again, it's a case in court, so we're not going to delve too much into it. But I think somehow the current Electoral Act seems to have taken care of the issues we used to have with different courts listening to the same case of electoral matters and all of that. Now the law is just that it's only the Federal High Court in different states that can entertain election petition matters or election issues matters. I think the issue of the Federal High Court before was that they felt it was a pre-election matter. It was not really a primary election matter.
And that was a domestic affair of a political affair. Party. Yeah, so it was dismissed. Yeah, so taking it to they go back to the Federal High Court.
So the case starts all over again. But what I see is that if the PDP is not careful in Ogun State, they're going to fight themselves to a standstill.
No candidates.
That may eventually happen. It has happened before. Zamfara is an example. Rivers State is an example. So if they are not careful, they will find themselves to a point where eventually they will not be able to present the candidates in the next election.
Well, what we have here is that by virtue of Section 285 of the 1999 Constitution and Section 84 of the Electoral Act of 2022, the Federal High Court has power to hear Lawal's case. So let's see how that will turn out. Just as Fuad has said, or just as we discussed yesterday, hopefully even Hakeem Adigmero, a correspondent in Ogun State, also shared that sentiment that hopefully there will not be a situation where they won't have a candidate at all.
If they don't have a candidate, he pays the incumbent and it's a walkover. He just wins. Although there are other candidates,
I wanted to say, I don't understand. Have you forgotten that a strong person in the APC is supporting an ADC candidate? So, more details on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. Interesting times in this election season. As we said, 2023 general elections is not business as usual. All right, so moving on now, we also have here, kidnappers abduct ex-Akeredolu's aide, demand 100 million naira ransom. That's very unfortunate. But we're still on this kidnapping story. And one would have thought that by now the Southwest governors would have come together to do something as regards these kidnapping issues.
The issue of kidnapping, Sandra, is like a cancer. And that's why we have to be very careful in the kind of things we push out there. There are bad guys here too. Again, whether of different ethnic or orientation or extraction, that's one question that we need to still answer. But the thing is this: when you begin to see kidnappers in other parts of the country, kidnap people, demand for ransom, and nothing is done, they are not arrested. And all of that. So the bad guys here just sit back and say, oh, okay, maybe this is a lucrative business. And so that's what you're saying. It's not like in all parts of the country. It's not even limited to the northwest or the northeast again. It's like in almost all parts of the country. You're having it in the south, it's in the southeast. Now you have it in the southwest because these guys say, oh, okay, it's a lucrative thing. The security forces don't have a grip on it. They are not really on top of their game in terms of bringing people to book, in this particular issue. So we are in dangerous times, Sandra, and that's why these days, if you don't really have anything important to do, you just stay away from traveling. Because
Imagine,
you are not even
it has gotten to that point, that just stay in your house.
Honestly, it has gotten to that point without sounding alarming, but that's a fact. Just some few weeks ago, or maybe some few days ago, we kept reporting on the fact that the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway seems to be a major problem now with travelers. The kidnappings
the unfortunate thing is that this particular, kidnap situation, the guy was taken from his house. They went to his private house and he was dragged out and taken away. So that's another, yes. Yeah.
Well, nobody seems to be safe anywhere again.
Oga.
That's the unfortunate thing.
Well,
we have found ourselves.
More details on page 5 of the Punch newspaper. We also have here, politicians will use and dump you. IG warns policemen. All right, and that particular report is on page 14 of the Punch newspaper, and what we have is that the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, has asked officers and men of the Nigeria Police Force to be apolitical before, during, and after the next general elections. And he's saying, and I'm quoting, "Let me sound a note of warning to you all. Be apolitical before, during, and after the forthcoming election. You must not allow yourselves to be used because they will dump you after the elections. You have a duty and responsibility to uphold the Constitution and to protect the lives and citizens, the property of citizens. You cannot afford to fail in carrying out these tasks." Is this enough to, give us some sort of assurance as regards the elections to come?
No, the police seems to be doing what they call an in-house cleanup. It's good that the IG is talking to his men, to stay away from partisanship, to their political and do their job professionally. The only thing I'm a bit worried about is the idea of, you're going to be used and dumped, so don't get used. There are people who prefer to be used, even if you're going to dump them. So
that gain of that now gain.
That immediate gain is what they're after. Don't worry, just dump me, use me and dump me. They don't mind. So I think the IG should have asked more on the need for them to be more professional. To be very professional in their job, to stay from any corrupt tendencies, and put the police in good light during the elections, and thinking that the idea of don't be, they are going to dump you, make them not. You understand? The immediate gain is what they are after. I don't think anybody wants to be used and still be continued.
And still be continued to be used.
Just use and dump it.
Is that right? Well, more details.
The immediate gain. But it's good that the IG is talking. It's good that he's talking to his men and giving them some form of orientation, to be professional as the elections approach.
All right, more details on page 14. Still on the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have here on page 12, presidency just beside the masthead. North can't dictate to others, says Adebanjo. Okay, so we're still hearing from Afenifere, apparently. But what we have in this particular report is that the leader of Yoruba Sociocultural Group, Afenifere, Chief Ayo Adebanjo, has said the North cannot dictate to the rest of the country who becomes the president. And it was said that, or he said that the Southeast must come to negotiate with the North because politics is a game of numbers. My case is, and I told the people yesterday, the case for the East is not to beg for a favor. It is their right. Yet each time I hear that they should go around because the North has the population, what fraudulent population? You can't sell that to me. And that's coming from, Pa Adebanjo. We have always had this conversation, Fuad. It's always interesting whenever you also say it, especially when the whole discussion or conversation of Muslim tickets arose, and everybody, he had to pick that ticket because, policy is a game of numbers, you need the North and all of that. It was so many stories and all of that. But, with what Pa Adebanjo is saying here now, what are your thoughts? Do you think the North should or can dictate who will become our president?
No, but no region can single-handedly dictate who becomes president in Nigeria, Sandra. We have 6 regions. the constitutional requirement to become president as it is now, Sandra, a candidate must do very well in 4 out of the 6 regions for you to become president. Because what you're supposed to do is to get 1/3 of votes in 24 states, including the FCT. So for you to become president, you can't, the North alone cannot make you president. That's just the issue. You need to do very, very well in 4 out of the 6 regions of the country. So there's no particular region that can single-handedly produce a president. You still need to do well in other regions. So I agree with him that, we all need ourselves, and if you must be a president in Nigeria, you need to, have that spread across all parts of the country. It's not just a northern thing, So I agree with Adebayo on that. On the fact that the Southeast should negotiate with the North, I don't understand. Again, these words are contextual. When he says negotiate, I don't understand what he means by negotiate. He understands, so I'm not in his mind, so I can't really interpret.
No, he's saying that he has heard people say that the Southeast must negotiate with the North because politics is a game of numbers for them to be able to, achieve the presidency or get the presidency. He's saying that it was said that the Southeast must come to negotiate with the North. That's what he said. Not that he said that Southeast.
Well, whatever he's saying and what other people are saying about negotiation, I don't understand. But if we're looking at a Peter Obi, who is probably the frontline presidential candidate from the Southeast now, if we're going to be looking at the context of negotiation, the fact that he has a northern as a teammate, for me, it's a form of negotiation. The fact that, okay, I'm from the Southeast, okay, I'm going to get somebody from the North as my running mate, for me, should suffice as a form of negotiation. But the fact is, it is important, and I think I agree with Adebayo that no region can single-handedly produce the president. Again, the requirements of the law simply shows that, look, from the 6 regions, political regions, you have to do well in 4. So you need that spread. You need to be everywhere, and so.
Finally, let me just ask: do you think that Nigerian unity is negotiable?
Again, you see, one thing about unity is this: it has to be something that everybody agrees to.
Okay.
Unity is not forced, because again, you can unite people forcefully in terms of geographical spread, in terms of landmass and all of that. What of the unity of the mind? What of unity of purpose? What of the same direction? The idea of having the same mind to build the nation. That's one thing that you really have to sit down to talk about, negotiate, and agree on. You understand what I'm saying? So I agree that, sometimes you have to negotiate the fact that, look, do we really want to be together? Do we have the same mindset? Are we working towards the same goal for the nation? I agree on that. And it's one discussion that, of course, why not?
All right. Well, the more details.
I used to give an analogy, Sandra, before we move forward. That, look, the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo used to say that, look, I'm not saying that we cannot exist together as a nation. The North, the South, the East. What I would not agree as a political leader of the Yorubas is for any region, it gives the analogy of, eating from the same plate. That, look, what we are going to do as a nation is that everybody will take a piece of knife, will cut the meat into pieces and pick our own. The idea of one region using their teeth to cut meat and hand it over to me is what I would not accept. So I agree that we can negotiate our unity so that we can have the same orientation, the same purpose, and everybody has the same sense of belonging. And then on that premise is the only reason why we can be talking about fairness, equity, and justice.
All right,
you understand what I'm
thank you very much. More details on page 12, and also on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Hoodlums invade Atiku campaign, injure supporters, damage vehicles, and that's on page 12 also. Just very quickly, there's the story of what happened in Gombe. So Atiku and
attacking his campaign. He was in Borno State, the same thing. In Kaduna State, the same thing.
Exactly.
I don't know what happens in the campaign of the PDP. The attack keeps coming.
And it's hoodlums are just allegedly hoodlums come in and they just scatter things and then. One would think that, okay, it has happened before, so let's tighten our belts the second time, and then it happens again. So I don't know what exactly to make of this particular situation that the PDP
do more. Maybe he needs to do more with security, at his campaign grounds. If he needs to get more deployment, because like I said, it's becoming consistent. It's happening in Borno State, I think it's happening in Kaduna State, now in Gombe State. So it's almost taking a worrying turn. I just think maybe the PDP needs to do more. The Atiku campaign needs to do more with police deployment, security deployment at his campaign grounds.
All right. Well, more details on page 12 of the Punch. And also moving on, we have here impeachment. New Ekiti Speaker successor differ. So, we broke that news yesterday as the hot. But then what we have now is that the impeached Speaker of Ekiti State House of Assembly, that's Gboyega Arebishogun, has called on prominent indigenes of the state to intervene in the crisis rocking the legislative house. So apparently it was
just go to court.
Exactly. It was not even just impeached; it was also suspended.
They said it's a betrayer now. You don't know what they said.
What did he do?
He betrayed who exactly?
Somebody.
Okay. So you should go to court.
And why is that person, dictating what goes on inside the Ekiti State House of Assembly?
You don't know the Godfather syndrome that we have in the country.
It's unfortunate because here he is now.
I agree. Completely unfortunate.
Here he is now crying out. Okay, well, it's speaking out. Let me not say speaking out. Here he is now speaking out and saying, open quote, "I'm telling the whole world that Ekiti State needs to be rescued democratically from former Governor Kayode Fayemi and his cohorts."
Oh, is that what he's saying?
That's what he's saying. That's what he said. I'm quoting him. That's why I had to put it there. I'm quoting him. So he says some of us have to stand out and talk and say enough of the domination and oppression, enough of this dictatorship by the former governor. He has left office. He does not have any power to come and tell us who should be the Speaker of the State House of Assembly. You know why this?
Let me make it. Okay. Sandra, let me make a prediction.
Okay.
Let me make a prediction. Yes, if truly this allegation is true that the crisis rocking the House of Assembly is from the former governor, the immediate former governor Kayode Fayemi, and somehow he seems to have succeeded in removing the Speaker because he feels that it's not the one he wants for that position. Fine. I want to make a prediction, Sandra. God spare our lives. We are still going to review the story of him being at loggerheads with the governor. And at that point, he's going to get a bloodied nose.
Who's that?
Just the former governor, if truly is the one involved in this crisis, rocking the state house. I'm saying if truly is an allegation. And somehow he has succeeded in removing the Speaker because he doesn't want thing. He would be at the same loggerhead, the same crisis with the governor that he supported and somehow has been able to install. And immediately he does that, he will get a bloodied nose. Just say I predicted it on this thing.
Well, as it is now, a whole lot is being said. The newly inaugurated Speaker, that's Adeluba, said that actually the election that produced Arebishogun as Speaker was compromised. And then she further said reasons for Arebishogun's removal includes sabotage of the supplementary appropriation bill before the assembly. That's why somebody that was just selected. But another thing is, according to her, the 7 other people that were suspended with Arebishogun from the house at the plenary, she said would be forgiven if they repent. So
they should
so it's
go and beg.
That's
go and beg the powers that be
so that they can go back to work. All right, that's why we always say that people are not paying attention enough to our legislative.
I'm telling you, if you have this kind of character in the assembly, what's going to happen? Nothing.
The kind of policies and laws that come out, I don't know. That means one person somewhere will be dictating, okay, Speaker, pass this bill, don't pass this bill. But more details.
Or probably even use them to continue to threaten the governor, begin to disrupt activities in the state, and the kind of politics we play, Sandra, you just sit back and shake your head.
It's okay.
Again, it's what it is.
It's okay. More details on page 10 of the Punch newspaper. And finally, from the Punch, we have petrol, electricity subsidies hurting poor Nigerians, says World Bank, as we all know. And that is on page 25 of the Punch newspaper. You're listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. And we just finished with the Punch. I'll quickly run through the Guardian newspaper because the major headline is actually an interesting one. All right. So the major headline from the Guardian newspaper: Buhari reignites politics of oil in the north, close to another election. Why is the president so interested in oil discovery in the north?
And now, is that not what the country has become, where we are just solely reliant on oil? We've abandoned every opportunity that we have in terms of agriculture, in terms of other mineral resources. It's just oil because it's the easiest thing for us to do, just extract and sell. The same oil that we can't even refine. Say you understand? So it's for me, it's just laziness on the part of our leaders. And that's what has happened in the last three decades of our nationhood, where we are just solely reliant on oil. We are not ready to look at other opportunities. Where is the Garant Pyramid of the North? Where is the cocoa that we used to have in the southwest that the likes of Chief Obafemi used to build the southwest, the cocoa house and the rest? So we've gotten to a point where that's the only thing we think about. And we'll continue to see how a lot of people will ask us, the discovery of oil in Nigeria, was it actually a blessing or a curse?
This particular story here we have is that sometime the last election, I think in 2016, NNPC launched a search for oil in some northern states, and here we are again, the second time towards an election season. Another drilling is ongoing, led by the president and his cabinet members. All went to the Gongola Basin. But what we have now is that the criticisms for this particular drill now is that it has some political undertones, and then there's a lot of secrecy around it and the general handling of the plan. And some people are equating it to the fact it's like discovering the cure of HIV and then you're hiding it. So what is with it? Just let it out. Let's know if truly something is happening there or not.
Sandra, Nigeria is one nation under God. If oil is discovered in the north, there's no way it can be hidden, or if it has been discovered already. So why again? The Niger Delta has always been the cash cow of the nation. The oil we discovered in their region is what we've been using for years. So if it's not discovered in the north, they have to bring it to the table too. And then also wherever it is discovered, the same 13% derivation goes to them. And I think this is not the time where we now be talking about resource control. No, everybody has to now still bring it to the table so that we share from it, because one region has been feeding us for years.
Well,
it's only fair that if it is discovered in the north too, they should bring it to the table so everybody benefits from it.
That's it.
So I don't know where the is coming from.
There's a whole lot of allegations and speculations in this particular report.
It's speculation, so don't let us.
Exactly. So let's just keep moving. But the point is that if there is, then NNPC should just be transparent about the whole thing and why it's
whether oil has been covered in the north, right?
Exactly. Some people are saying, "Oh, it's been discovered, but it's not in commercial quantity or not." Let's just know whatever it is, and and let's move. But more details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Okay, and we also have here, Osun PDP asked members to pray and fast over Adeleke's inauguration. Okay, so that's on page 5 of the Guardian. May their prayers be answered.
That somebody sent to me. The man was dancing. There's no way of dancing in Osun State when the man is
He's a dancing person. He's a happy person. It's a good thing. So he's
a happy go person.
Yes, Osun people are very lucky to have a very happy, positive energy. Moving on, Obi. In 2023, we need a competent and fit leader. That's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. All right. And moving on now, we also have confusion as Ekiti Assembly elects another speaker within 6 days. That's on page 5. Gunmen abduct over 100 in Zamfara. That is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Also, we have here, Southeast youths call for Soludo's impeachment. I thought I was the only one. So the report we have is that the writer to that set to dump refuse at government house over comment on Obi. So coalition of Southeast youth leaders that's Coalition of Southeast Youth Leaders, that's COSIL, has intensified their move to lobby appropriate authorities to ensure Governor Charles Soludo of Anambra State is removed from office.
So what would be the allegation now for impeachment?
So the call for the impeachment is the call for impeachment is that they are registering their dissatisfaction over the seeming controversial and demeaning letter that Soludo wrote against the presidential candidate of the Labour Party.
Is that enough reason for impeachment? I think you should go and read the constitution, what it takes to impeach a governor and the processes involved.
Well, they are saying that that is a national embarrassment.
Oh, okay.
To Anambra State people.
Well, it's within the rights of youth to call for his impeachment and lobby the legislature, because it's just a national assembly matter. It's the state assembly matter. I didn't say that. You are the one saying.
What?
No. I didn't use the word. I'm just saying that maybe they need to go and read the constitution to what it takes to impeach a governor.
Okay.
And the question I simply asked was, okay, what would be the allegation against the governor?
That he wrote a letter, yes. The letter is an embarrassment to people of Anambra State.
They consider it an embarrassment. There are still people in Anambra that would not consider it as an embarrassment. You see, we operate a democracy, Sandra, where people should understand that, look, we have to respect the right of people to not agree or agree with our position on things. And that was one of the things Soludo highlighted in his letter. The fact that, look, the supporters of PLP are not really doing him any good when they seem to shout down on everybody and talk down on them because they don't believe in his candidature. I believe that, look, he has the momentum. He has what it takes. Peter is a very brilliant person, an astute, brilliant. He's been able to, sell himself and, to a lot of Nigerians in this short period of time, which is remarkable. But in all of that, the supporters also need to understand that not everybody would buy his candidature, and that's the beauty of democracy. Again, if he can be impeached because he wrote a letter, we'll wait and see. But
okay.
He said, is it laughable? I didn't say that. But looking at it, it's laughable too.
All right. Well, more details on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. Yeah. The Coalition of Southeast Youth Leaders are calling for Soludo's impeachment over his. And
then the idea of going to the state house to go and dump refuse. I'm sure policemen will whoop their ass if they do that.
I mean there are laws. There are laws. So let's try to do things appropriately. All right. Finally, from the Guardian newspaper, Kogi too hot for criminals under Bello, says IGP. So what we have is that the Inspector General of Police has said that Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State is a dogged crime fighter who has made the state unsafe for criminals to thrive. And he has said, he described the governor as one governor that would never raise the alarm of not being in control of security in his state, as that, the governor leads from the front. I think Kogi actually has, to a certain extent, we haven't heard so much as regards insecurity in Kogi State.
Recently, there have been cases of kidnapping and stuff, Sandra, although it's done fairly well if you're going to compare him to other north-central states like Niger, Nassau, Plateau, and the rest. But it's not completely free from, we've had cases of kidnappings in recent time. But if, like I said, if we're going to compare Kogi State to other states like Niger, Plateau.
Okay, so in comparison, Kogi has done well. However, they also have their fair share. That's what you're saying.
Of course, yeah, they have their fair share of troubles.
Okay, all right. Well, more details on page 30 of the Guardian newspaper, and that's all from the Guardian. Let's move very quickly now to The Nation. All right, let's see what's trending from The Nation newspaper. Major headline there: why Atiku PDP will lose in 2023, and that's by Kwakwanso. All right, and the writers to that: nobody can win presidential poll without Lagos, Kano, Rivers votes. It's not me that said that.
That's Kwakwanso saying that, right?
Okay, so that's from the NNPP presidential candidate Kwakwanso. All right, and
thank God he knows.
He said that the PDP presidential candidate cannot win next year's poll without controlling Lagos, Kano, and Rivers State. I think those are major states in different geopolitical zones in the country. All right, so it's shared kind of equally, if you ask me. But he also went further to say no indication we will lose. Okay, no, okay, that's coming from PDP now. PDP in response to Kwakwanso, no indication we will lose. PDP tells NNPP candidate. I mean, I'm worried. Do we have any realists in the PDP that can, maybe open some people's eyes to certain things? Are we the ones that are just seeing things differently?
You are not a politician, Sandra. They see what you don't see.
Okay.
They know what you don't.
Okay.
So don't worry.
Politicians have different eyes. It's all right.
The eyes of the journalist is different from the eyes of the politician.
That's interesting.
You are reading the papers. You are reading different memos and correspondences.
Okay.
We know they see the same thing. They know they hear the same thing.
Well, what we have is that the NNPP candidate, that's Kwakwanso, believes that the way Atiku has treated Nyesom Wike and members of his integrity group, that Atiku cannot win Rivers State. That's Kwakwanso saying that one. No? So, and he's saying that some persons were obsessed with the party ticket and could do anything to grab it. It's a long read. It's a lot of stories, political. More details on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. All right. Moving on now, we also have here how 1 million man march, PVC march for Tinubu shut down Kano. That's on page 5. Cut spending to rein in inflation, IMF tells federal government. So the federal government should look beyond monetary policies, okay, and work on cutting their spending. That's basically what International Monetary Fund is saying in the fight against inflation. That's the easiest or fastest way. And they're also urging the authorities to channel investments to infrastructure, education, and healthcare. All right, and it's a long read. You can get all of the details on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. All right, and moving on now very quickly, we also have World Bank advises federal government on fiscal adjustments. That's on page 7. Saka scores brace in England win. Senegal lose to Holland. That is on page 30. I don't know, but maybe because Nigeria is not at the World Cup, the buzz.
Senegal and other African.
So a lot of people are going with Ghana. I don't know why.
No, I'm not going. I'm going with Senegal.
But Mane is not in the World Cup, so why Senegal?
From going to the World Cup. Huh?
Mane is not in the World Cup, so what chances do you think Senegal has?
Go with Senegal. Ghana was the one that stopped us. How would I support it? I'm supporting Senegal.
It's okay.
But Senegal is I think they're really missing money.
Yes. I mean,
there seems to be no direction really up front for Senegal. But what it is. There's nothing they can do about it. It was painful to see the way they lost the match yesterday.
Okay.
That's football.
That is football. More details on page 30 of the Nation. Also here we have Ogun NNPC to reconstruct Ogijo Shagamu Road, says Abiodun, and that is on page 27 of the Nation. And finally, from the Nation newspaper, 11 family members die of food poisoning. Okay, and that is in Benue State. All right, and all of them, well, some six died in one day. The remaining 5 died a few days later. All right, and this is actually a very unfortunate one. But they're still looking into what exactly happened, and it was learned that they took ill after eating food, and then they were taken to hospital, and then some recovered and returned home, and then some later died. And it's a long read. You can get the details on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. Finally, right here on trends in the papers, we're looking through Vanguard, and the major headline from Vanguard newspaper: 2023 APC opposition parties bicker over digital vote buying allegations. Okay, and the riders to that, APC digital vote buying. I'm trying to get that also. APC planning to transfer cash to 10 million voters, says opposition parties.
So now there is a physical mop-up of cash, mop-up of physical cash.
Ah.
Digital is
the way.
And digital, in which way?
This is the way that they said they would do. Because I'm not the one. That's what opposition parties are saying. So APC planning to transfer cash to 10 million voters.
It's an allegation
from opposition parties, yes. Alleged ruling party
has.
We're
going about getting accounts.
So that's the riders. So hold on. Alleged ruling party has harvested voters' bank accounts for digital vote buying. So you know the case of some people in some parties that receive alert and say, where did this money come from? So maybe some people start seeing alert and say, where did this money come from? That's the allegation that we have.
The narration will be so. What will be the narration on the credit and on the alert?
God bless Nigeria. Past vote of confidence in INEC chairman. Opposition parties spreading rumors to malign Tinubu, says APC PCC. These are all allegations. So you can get all of the details on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. I don't know where they got their intel from, but there's going to be a lot of back and forth with political parties just trying to see what they can do as regards or other parties. But
when it comes to vote buying, Sandra, if there's anything like that is just an allegation. I don't think any of the two major political parties will say they will. It's just like when we saw it, it was across the two parties really. So, but the idea of digital vote buying, if truly they want to do that
at the national level,
how is that even possible?
They said they've harvested. Okay, well, let's not dig deep into it so that it's not as if we are.
Maybe they've harvested my account too. I don't know now. If I see money, me I will talk. You see money.
Money that I did not work for.
What will you report to now? They credit your account now.
It's true. Is it the bank? Is it INEC? Is it, I don't know. Who are we supposed to go and meet?
The police.
Is it the police?
I saw money.
I saw
money. Or just pocket it and just vote your conscience.
No, I'll donate it.
So.
All right, these are still allegations. You can get all the stories on page 5 of Vanguard. Moving on now. This is very interesting talk. I don't know why it's in a very small corner of Vanguard, just in a very tiny corner there. Failed NNPP Labour Party merger talks. There was the story moving around on Twitter yesterday that Peter Obi offered Kwakwanso 40 billion naira to step down and work as his running mate. Okay, so
I say the big boy. I don't know. That's not a start. Where would the people even get that kind of money?
Peter Obi said,
"The man who they give shishi."
Exactly. Peter Obi is responding now, saying, "I didn't offer Kwakwanso 40 billion naira to step down for me." That's coming from Peter Obi. Okay, and you can get all of the details on page 9 of Vanguard newspaper. Also here we have 2023 Khan Sultan warned against electoral violence. That's also on page 9. How crude oil thieves used technology to lay pipelines. So the criminals are using technology, but
and we are not using technology.
We are not using technology.
Using Tompolo technology.
It's okay. But it's working as long as it's working.
It's working.
It's working now.
The extent at which it's working is what we really don't know.
No, but it's working.
But there are situations. I used to stay in a border town in this country where, at night we see movement of things into the country, and then, then 1 or 2 days after you see, our border people say, "Oh, they arrested 1 or 2." I don't want to be too, but you know what I'm saying. So, so if Tompolo is working, what's the extent of work that we're getting from it? That should be a question.
Well, they're noting that collaboration within the system has aided crude oil theft for a while, and they're saying that the extent of such collaboration was unknown to authorities. And they're saying when you introduce technology into stealing, and this is precisely what they did, and when there's the collaboration of people who should not be a part of that transaction, you can lay pipelines and no one will see it. You can do it at night if you have the abilities, and ultimately this is what we think happened. You can lay pipelines for the wrong reasons to abandon or active assets. And that, you can get more details on page 25 of Vanguard newspaper. Okay, well, there's some other stories, but we're taking them from the other papers, and that's all. Yes, then that's all for trends in the papers for this morning. Very interesting stories that we've treated. However, we'll be picking one or two to focus on. By 8:40, we'll be back for Mainland Focus, where you also get to be a part of the conversation. So stay with us. It's Mainland 98.3 FM, and we are the sound of Lagos.